All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nice and clear. Okay, so today we're going to mainly cover trust and we're going to cover the religious entity or church, how do you connect that and how that all works. So some people, when they think of trust, they think you have to have a lot of money to have a trust. But in this, someone just must have dropped off and they getting back in. Anna. But there's a lot of cases where a trust is necessary, even if you don't have a lot of money. One of them is if you own property, you own a house, to avoid probate, you put your house in a trust so that it automatically goes to whoever you need it to go to, instead of going to probate and your family fights over it. So, as you know, when people pass, a lot of conflict comes from that. I haven't met too many situations where, people have passed and there wasn't any conflict. And usually that's because the person who passed didn't leave clear enough instructions on how they wanted their affairs handled when they pass. And typically this is common amongst people in the middle to lower income. We don't think about these things. We're just sitting around, just working every day, making our money, and just trying to get by. I get it. But it really only takes literally 1 to 2 days to set up a trust and set up, is to really do your estate planning, especially if you don't have a lot of money. It doesn't take that long. You have things that are valuable and you have things that you want to go to specific people, or you don't want them to go to specific people. You need to have a clear plan on how you want that distributed. One of the things that people don't understand is, as you get older and you retire, you deal with what you call Medicare, right? So in order to qualify for Medicare, it looks at all of your assets. And if you have too many assets, you're not going to qualify, right? But what wealthy people do, and people who understand how this works, is they set up trusts and transfer all of their assets into a trust 5 years prior to their retirement or prior to them applying for Medicare. Because what Medicare does is it does a 5-year look back to see what you own. So now you can have a lot of assets and still get benefits from the government, even though you have just transferred those into trust. So I'll go over that. I just want to give you an idea. It's not about how much money you have. It's about organizing your affairs so that once you get to a point in your life where you may be sued, or you want your things to go in a certain direction, or you want to just save a lot of money on taxes, this will help you. So this irrevocable trust, wealth protection, asset, and security. Mainly I deal in irrevocable trust, and you might hear some things. Don't set up an irrevocable trust because you can't, once you set it up, it can't be changed. Well, I'm going to dispel those myths. That's just, normally you'll go to an attorney, he'll tell you that. And there's a reason why attorneys tell you that, because they want to put you in a direction of where the government can benefit off of you the most when it comes to taxes. All right, here we go. Introduction to trust. Trusts are legal entities that hold assets for beneficiaries. 2 main types, revocable and irrevocable. Used for wealth protection, estate planning, and tax efficiency. Key components: grantor, trustee, beneficiaries, assets, trust agreement. So you have a grantor, you have a trustee, you have beneficiaries, assets, and a trust agreement. Avoids probate, provides asset protection, and ensures privacy. There we go. Woo. We're not going back over the library. You didn't even know who did this. But you were signing your name away on this thing. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Because how they positioned this to you is you can't start classes until you fill this out. That was the highlight. And that's key to the new to this bill, this $6 billion bill that they're allowing to go through because of unfair debt loan practices. That is an unfair practice when you're going in front of a kid that's just coming out of high school to go into college, and you put the pressure. He wants to go to school, she wants to go to school, and all you keep saying is you can't stop classes until your financial aid is in. They don't give you clear-cut understanding of what you're doing with these contracts. They just tell you, you fill out all of the paperwork. Hey, this is what you qualify. Sign right here. Am I right or wrong?
You are right.
That's it. And if you want to start classes, that's unfair. You're not telling a person, well, you're going to be paying this loan off. You don't have to pay it while you're in school, but the interest is still accruing the whole time you're in school. So, and then when you go into forbearance and all of these other things, it's still accruing. So basically, you're saddled with a lifetime payment, pretty much, because after a while, that interest is just building up the whole time. But you're not thinking about that. It's party time in school. So, debt collectors include collection agencies or lawyers who collect debts as part of their business. So a lawyer is a debt collector. Just because it says attorney at law and all this other nonsense, he is a debt collector, and he's still got to follow the rules just of the debt collector laws. And he can be sued for even asking you for money that don't belong to him. Right? There are also companies that bypass through debts from creditors or other businesses and then try to collect them. These debt collectors are also called debt collection agencies, debt collection companies, or debt buyers. Now, when it comes to student loans, you have what you call loan services, which is Fed Loan Services, Fed Loan, Navient, Nelnet. Those are the three I can only remember right now. I'm sure there's others. All of those are services. When it says there's services, that means you don't owe them a dime. They're collecting on behalf of someone else. Here's the problem with student loans. Just like I asked in the beginning, do you even remember who you signed the loan with? Do you even have the original paperwork? Now, the reason why my method is effective is because I tell the people that's coming after me for money, I don't even know who you are. I don't owe you a dime. And I don't admit to any debts or any student loans. I didn't take out a student loan with Nelnet. I didn't take out a student loan with Fed Loan Services or Navient, which used to be Sallie Mae. I don't know if y'all know that. Sallie Mae is still around. They just changed their name to Navient. That's not a new loan student loan servicer. Sallie Mae just got such a bad reputation, they had to change their name so that people, it's called rebranding. It's just like the cable companies out here. There's a company called Charter Communications, been around for a very long time, right? But they rebranded under Spectrum. You see? Same thing with Comcast. Got bad reputation, but they rebranded under some other name. I forgot what it is. You see, that's what they do when they get a bad reputation. They go and do a name change on their books. So all of these companies are debt collectors, and the debt collector rule says, let's look at them. Let me share this. Stop. Let's look at the debt collector rules. Be a debt collection practice of that. It says here, first you need to know what the definitions are of a debt collector. The term creditor means any person who offers or extends credit, creating a debt, or to whom a debt is owed, but such term does not include any person to the extent that he receives an assignment or transfer of debt in default solely for the purpose of facilitating collection of such debt for another. You see? 5, the term debt means any obligation or alleged obligation of a consumer to pay money arising out of a transaction in which the money, property, insurance, or services which are the subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, or household purposes, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. The term debt collector means any person who uses any instrumentality of interstate commerce or the mails in any business, the principal purpose of which is the collection of any debts, or who regularly collects or attempts to collect directly or indirectly debts owed or due or asserted to be owed or due another. Notwithstanding the exclusion provided by clause F of the last sentence of this paragraph, the term includes any creditor who, in the process of collecting his own debt, uses any name other than his own, which would indicate that a third person is collecting or attempting to collect such debts. Let me explain this last part. You got Wells Fargo, right? And you owe them some money. But their debt collection department, say you pass due, calls you. That is a third-party debt collector by this definition. Yeah, the Wells Fargo is the creditor, but Wells Fargo default collections department is considered a third-party debt collector under this rule. Because what they do, the first thing they do, this is an attempt to collect the debt, and anything that when they say that statement, they have to say that because they're letting you know that that arm of the company is a third-party debt collection department. So yes, you can do the same methods to people you've actually had deals with, because this is saying that they have to follow the rules. So let's go down to communication. So what can a debt collector do as far as communicating with you? Communication with the consumer generally. Without the prior consent of the consumer given directly to the debt collector or the express permission of a court of competent jurisdiction, a debt collector may not communicate with the consumer in connection with the collection of any debt. It says right here, you have to give them express permission, either verbal or written. A lot of times in the new loan documents, they'll have something. Can we contact you by email? Can we contact you in writing? What is your preferred method of communication? So they get that agreement up front. But once it passes off to a debt collector, you don't have an agreement with that debt collector to communicate with you. So the moment he calls you, a debt collector calls you, they start owing you some money for that, just that initial contact or that initial letter in the mail. Okay, so the links, I have the link for this in the in these slides. You guys will get these slides when I'm at the end, and plus you'll get the template of the one letter that I used to shut down about $90,000 worth of loans, and they put on the credit report, paid in full. So, and they didn't have to pay a dime. So there you go with that. So here's any questions about debt collectors? Any? No questions? All right, good. Let me move. Peace, peace. What's up? Let me make sure my mic is working. It's working. Yay. Things was acting funny yesterday when I got back from Maryland. Well, I got back on Sunday evening, but my camera was all off whack. I had to figure it out. I don't know what it was. But shouts out to everybody. Special shouts out to everyone that attended the seminar this weekend. I appreciate your support. I think we had a great seminar. I told y'all should have came. I told y'all. And the reason why I'm having this topic tonight is because of that seminar. Matter of fact, let me go and find the link that I want to read. And we were talking about, I mentioned how the Pope declared this year a Jubilee year. And as you know, if you know anything about the Bible, Jubilee means the forgiveness of debt. And I mentioned that, and then someone in the seminar went to their phones and pulled it up. And they sent me the link that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm trying to find the link. Trying to find it. It's always easy to find stuff when you really need to look for it, but no. See, there it is right there. This is it. Yes. And I'll put this link in the chat for you guys so y'all could go back and read it. But I'm going to read it in a few. We're going to talk about this. So, we talked about a lot. We talked about trust. We talked about nationality, how important that is. I talked about how to get the EINs without the social, went into details on that. And, one of the people that was there, I always say this stuff is simple. It really is. It's not complicated. What makes it complicated? The teachers that teach it to give you a lot of fluff, to make it sound so good to you so that they can get more money out of you. I'm a simple person. I like things simple. I like my path to be as easy as I can. Because I know in the beginning, things are always tough, especially when you're learning something, trying to grasp things. That's the toughest part of any process, just trying to grasp things. Like 10 years ago, when I was sitting in my office in South Carolina, trying to learn how to understand constitutions. When I was trying to get help, I was going through some things and, read the Constitution. And see, teachers will do that. Go read this. Go read that. But don't tell you exactly what to read. So I like to read. So that wasn't a problem for me. But I realized a lot of people I deal with do not like to read. They like to skim. And some don't even skim. I have people sending me emails. You know what? Let me. That's not just people in this community. That's everybody. Like, I have a trucking company, and we have been moving containers for the last couple of weeks, right? And so when we send invoices over to get paid, I need to show the pickup of the containers and the drop off. They come with a little receipt. It has the timestamps on it, when they were dropped off, what tractor number, which means the truck that dropped it off, and the trailer, things, and the driver. And during that process, the people that get the driver's name, they type the names in most of the time wrong. They type the tractor in most of the time wrong, right? Because they want your trucks to be clean trucks, right? So you got to register the truck in their system, let them know what type of truck, it lets them know it's a clean truck, right? But when they type it in wrong, I get this thing, hey, this vehicle is not a clean truck, because they didn't type it in right. Or they didn't listen correctly. The reason why I'm saying this is an epidemic of how people operate, not paying attention to details or even caring about the details. So when I submit the invoices, yesterday I sent a couple of invoices over. I get an email. We got a problem with this invoice. It's missing. Well, actually, it didn't even say what the problem was. They just said it had a problem, and I go into the account to look at what the problem. There's no details. So I had to call. Hey, I see there's a problem with this invoice I sent, but I don't know what the problem is. Oh, yeah, you're missing one of the receipts. You didn't show us that you dropped the containers off. Now, while I'm on the phone, I already got the whole invoice up with all of the paperwork required. Looking at it, I said, yeah, they're there. No, I mean, it's there. It's not there. I said, keep looking. I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. Then finally, this is how they save face. Oh, I don't know what happened, why we couldn't see it before. This is what you're dealing with, the matrix. The matrix is, the people are so glitched out by the matrix, they will not accept responsibility for anything. The problem is you didn't look with details. And then I sent 4 separate invoices today. Same issue. Right? Same issue. And I had to call. Oh, I see everything looks good, because people are rushing through their work, may not like their job, and they're not looking at things in detail. I pride myself on paying attention to the things that most people don't pay. And guess what? That's a superpower. Because what people are not paying attention to, and you're paying attention to it, you can capitalize on that. You can make a lot of money off of that. Let me tell y'all something. Let me just tell y'all simple and plain. And I know I can say this, and I'll still do business. I'll still do good business, because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You're always going to make money in the things you're supposed to be doing. You're always going to make good money and feel good about it in the things you're supposed to be doing. You can make a lot of money in things you don't like or whatever and just be getting by. But when it comes to things you love to do, you will always make good money at it. What I was saying is, paying attention to details is my superpower, because I realize no one else wants to do that work. So I decide to do the work and then monetize it. You see? I have purchased people, they have all of these fancy websites, fancy this, that, and the other, and then I get their stuff, it's junk. Now, I don't have all of that fancy stuff going. I wanted to do that at one time. Oh, wow. Hang on. Yeah, Indie Circle Ministry, that liquor store right there in Fort Mill, not too far from where you live. Yes. That's where I get the Santa Ana from. Yes, you're right. Yep. Oh, you might want to call them or go up there. They might have to order it. I bought the last one the last time I was there. So I don't know if they restocked. All right. Not many people are looking for this. I was talking to somebody in the chat. He was asking me where I was getting something from. So what I was saying, most people don't want to pay attention to the details. And the bigger thing that most people don't want to pay attention to the details of is themselves. Oh, they can look at everybody else, but they can't look at the details of themselves. They can't look at what they're saying out verbally, spoken words, and internally. Because it all starts with you. It all starts with me. If I'm having problems in my relationships, it starts with me. I don't care what that person is doing. It really starts with me because I'm the one choosing to be there to take it, whatever they're doing. Or I chose that person to be in my circle of energy. So there's a response. Just on that level, there's a level of responsibility on your part and my part. You see? That's the details we need to be paying attention to. Why am I not getting the outcomes that I really want? Maybe there's some internal talk that's in conflict with that. Maybe there's some habits you got that you must get rid of in order to go on to the next level. And before I go on to the next, what I'm about to say, and I'm going to sip this before I say it. One of the things we must always pay attention to is you can never get to the next level doing the same shit you've been doing today. Right now, everything we do up until this point, everything you do, I do, everything we do up until this point is giving us all the results that we have right now. I don't care what it is. That's called paying attention to the details. Everything from A to Z. Everything. That version of you right now is the one that's blocking you from getting to the level that you need to go to. Okay? And that's the hard part. Because we have things we like and we love and we don't want to let things go. But letting go is the best way to get to the place you're trying to get. You can't take everything with you. You can't take everyone with you. And guess what? The one thing you can't take with you when you rise into another level is your old self. That motherfucker got to stay behind. Huh? Am I right or am I wrong? Tell me. That's that esoteric scripture that talks about putting off the old you, becoming a new man in Christ consciousness. What does it mean? Oh, right now, this version of Akeem is an old version. Transitioning, transforming, elevating to a newer version. Because there's things that hold on. I'm going to get to the Jubilee. It ain't going to take long for me to mention that. We'll talk about that. I know y'all want to get rid of your debt. But if you don't understand what I'm about to say now, all you're going to do is get back in the debt once you get rid of the debt. This version of me is the very version that's hindering me from getting to the point that I want to go. I have to let go of this version to become a new version. Damn, an upgrade. You got to become a whole new you. Them conversations you having with certain individuals that ain't going nowhere, ain't even thinking about what you talking about or even care about what you saying. And just to back up a little bit, there was something I was about to say. I have the old version Akeem used to correct people when I hear them say things wrong. But the new versions don't say a word. Now, I will try to project thoughts subliminally or, just send the energy of a different idea out there. But no longer will you see me, hey, don't say that, change your words. Nah. Because I've learned, with help of Santa Ana here, that's their walk. They have to go that journey. I can't cut that short. That's not my job to cut it short. Sometimes they got to repeat stuff over and over and over until they get it right. My job is just to observe and learn from that person or whatever I'm interacting, because I'm learning when I hear certain things that I know is conflicting with that person's rise or elevation, I take it not to give them advice, I give myself advice. Watch what you say. I take it in and I'll be like, okay, that's how I sound when I say things like that. I take it to apply for myself, for building myself. Because when I did try to interject, hey, cut their path short, offenses come. People get offended. Why? Rightfully so. This is my damn path. I have to, this is me to learn not to say these things until I, figure it out that these are the very things that's keeping me from attaining the higher things that I want. I learned that. And it feels so good when you do that. It takes a lot of pressure off of you, because when you say when you don't just get in people's business as much as you think you're doing them right, you're thinking you're helping, you're not helping them. You're just making them more resistant to you. Because the voice that's supposed to help them is their own internal voice. And I learned by keeping my mouth shut, eventually that person gets it. You'll hear them in another conversation. I was talking all crazy the other day, and I shouldn't be saying stuff like that. They'll get it without me even saying anything. Maybe they picked up on the energy that I didn't agree with what they said without me saying it. And then that energy transferred and they started to dwell on it and changed it. See, this is what happens when you become new version. You start to realize the less you say is the more you get more with the less you say. Is the term what? The less is more? You get more when you just become the observer and you just listen. And you really engage and hear who you're talking to and what they're saying. And you're learning from them. It's amazing how much headspace it frees up. Because people got to get this in their own time. They have their own path to walk. See, sometimes you're going to just walk with people for a short time, brief, sometimes longer, and sometimes for a lifetime. Who knows? But I'll tell you this. Look at your results right now. Look at all of your results right now. Look at everything. You got to be open. You got to be truthful with yourself. Do you like your results? And then ask yourself, is there this version of me holding me back? Am I still trying to take some of the old stuff with me into this new level of existence or consciousness? Because the stuff you obtained in that old version can't go. People can't go. And one thing I want to add before I get into the Jubilee thing is how we perceive things, how we say things is exactly how they're going to turn out. If you feel like you're always in a constant fight or a conflict, that's how it's going to be. Now, if you like fights and conflict, that's okay. But if you don't like, we shouldn't be speaking about it. We shouldn't be calling it. There's no power that supersedes your power. Nothing I say or do to try to hinder your progress is more powerful than your own internal power. See, what makes my words powerful, and the government knows this, the powers that be knows this, is if you contract with my words and accept them and get offended by them, and you choose to engage or react to them, that's where it becomes starting to affect you. And it's really not my words affecting you, what I'm saying or doing. It's your choice of accepting it as a problem for you that is the problem. Because we're going to run into tough situations all the time with people. All the time. Everywhere you go, it's going to be a new adventure of how you get along and not get along with somebody. And your greatest power is not allowing people to move you off your position. Off your position of peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth and good health. That's my position. That's where I want to be. That's where I am. No matter how the bank account looks. I don't pay attention to the bank. I pay because I know everything that's in there is because of something I did or didn't do. Okay? Somebody said the observer position is powerful. Absolutely. Yeah, once again, everybody that showed up to the Maryland seminar, shouts out to everyone. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the meals. Dax, Greg. Thank you for the, am I missing someone else that paid? If I miss anyone else that paid for my meals, thank you. Appreciate it. It was a nice, I really liked that seminar. It was cool. Everybody got along, went out to eat together and had a great time. We really did. And I told some of my old war stories from young, and then, that's all I'm going to say. I ain't going no further than that. All right, so let's get into this Jubilee thing. Yeah, Jubilee. Let me share the screen. Hopefully, right screen shares. There we go. All right, so this comes from the National Catholic Reporter. It said debt forgiveness is critical during Jubilee 2025. I find this highly coincidental. We get a new president. We get this Jubilee. This came out January 3rd, 2025. The Jubilee year is, for many, about making a pilgrimage to Rome. Hang on one second. I need to, I'll be right back. Hang on one second. All right, I'm back. Sorry. All right, so let's start all over. The Jubilee year is for many about making a pilgrimage to Rome, walking through one of the holy doors at the various basilicas. Thanks to Pope Francis, there's a holy door at the Rebibbia prison. Such pilgrimages confer a plenary indulgence, the remission of temporal punishment for sins already forgiven on those who make them. In advance of the 2000 Jubilee, Pope John Paul II and many other religious leaders called for different kind of remission, canceling the debt of impoverished nations. Jubilee USA was founded at that time to help make this retrieval of the ancient practice of forgiving debt during a Jubilee a reality. Francis, in his New Year's address, made debt forgiveness a central theme of this year's Jubilee as well. The first to forgive debts is God, as we always ask him when we pray the Lord's Prayer, referring to our sins and committing ourselves to forgive in turn those who have offended us, the Pope said. And the Jubilee asked us to Now, this is the first time I'm reading this article, so I just want to let you know. And I'm saying this for a reason, because when I was teaching in the seminar, we were talking about, I came up with a template for how to get rid of your debts and using that scripture, the Lord's Prayer, as a way of getting rid of debt. And I just read this, and it's in this article. It's the first time reading it. As you can tell, I'm stumbling over things because I wasn't prepared. This is my first time looking at it. So when I run into words I'm not familiar with, I have to stop. Okay, this is what. But if I had read it, I'd be prepared. But we'll talk about that in a second. And the Jubilee asks us to translate this forgiveness on a social level so that no person, no family, no population is crushed by debts. I therefore encourage the rulers of countries with a Christian tradition to set a good example for canceling or reducing as much as possible the debts of the poorest countries. The roots of the idea of Jubilee marked by debt forgiveness are found in the Hebrew scriptures. I asked my friend Rabbi Yehiel Pupko, rabbinic scholar of the Jewish United Fund Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago, about the scriptural warrant. There are no mitzvot commandments in the Torah about international borrowing and lending, Pupko told us. Nonetheless, Deuteronomy 15 also makes clear that at some point debt can grow to be so significant that the normal processes of need, requesting a loan, making a loan, paying back, can accrue to such a degree as to bring normal economic life to a halt. Hence, the Torah provides for quite literally what we call during the Depression a bank holiday. Other parts of the Torah shed light on the ethics of debt. For example, in Exodus 22, 24, 26, we read, "If you lend money to my people, to the poor among you, do not act toward them as a creditor, exact no interest from them. If you take your neighbor's garment in pledge, you must return it to him before the sun sets. It is his only clothing, the sole covering for his skin. And what else shall we sleep? Therefore, if he cries out to me, I will pay heed, for I am compassionate." Now comes the task of transferring from mitzvot that govern relations between individuals to relations between lender and borrower nation, said Pupko. To put it plainly, the principles apply. The Torah never wants to see a situation in which one party, be it an individual or a nation, accrues such debt that the lender exerts emporium, that the lender feels that he or she can enter the home or the country of the borrower, or that the basic necessities of life, such as the night garment in Exodus 22:25, are no longer available to the borrower. This year, the good people of Jubilee USA and their colleagues throughout the world want to make sure the poor nations of the world are not without their modern-day equivalent of a night garment. According to the World Bank, the 26 poorest countries, or 40% of the world's population, lives on less than $2.15 a day, are choosing between the social needs of their people and making debt payments, said Eric Lecomte, executive director of the Jubilee USA Network. The pandemic spurred greater food and debt crises around the globe and led to lost decades of development. Rwanda struggles with more than half of the population living in extreme poverty and a third of their kids struggling with chronic malnutrition. Those numbers are growing, Lecomte said. Lecomte looks back to the successes that grew out of the 2000 Jubilee effort as providing hope for the future. Because of Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict, that looks like 1016, I guess, and the Jubilee 2000 movement, we won more than $130 billion in debt relief, and 54 million kids went to school in Africa who never would have seen the inside of the classroom, he told me. Pope Francis is calling us to finish the unfinished work of Jubilee 2000, but Jubilee 2025, we must create a new international bankruptcy processes to end debt crisis forever. That's interesting. We must create new international bankruptcy processes to end debt crisis forever. Interesting choice of words. 130 billion sounds like so much money, but Forbes just estimated Elon Musk's personal wealth at $421.2 billion. In fact, his personal wealth grew by $213 billion last year. One man, 1 year. The Pope's encouragement helps bring the world's attention to the issue, but it is the hard work of groups like Jubilee USA that makes debt relief a reality. It is complicated stuff. I wrote about their work helping the religious leaders in Puerto Rico deal with the debt crisis the island faced in the last decade. In an interview at Commonweal, San Juan Archbishop Roberto Gonzalez recently discussed the help Lecomte gave him and the Allen's other religious leaders. Here in the U.S., liberal Catholics are preparing for various menacing things Donald Trump is planning to do. Jubilee USA has a history of working across the aisle, and while debt forgiveness is not on the top of Trump's agenda, unless the debts are his own, perhaps some conscientious members of Congress can craft bipartisan legislation that addresses the claimant problem. Whatever our economic problems here in America, we can even imagine the desperation of those living in extreme poverty, but we can do something about it. So, the Catholic Church has declared this year a Jubilee year for forgiveness of debts. So, I strongly suggest, let me shut this down. I strongly suggest that you start to write y'all letters to get rid of y'all debts. I said this right when Biden came into office and about the student loans, and then we're going back and forth playing games with that. I said, yo, y'all need to go after y'all student loans. And that was the same time I drafted that letter, sent it out, and it got rid of someone's $91,000 worth of student loan debt. And I'm feeling the same way right now. Like, if you start writing these letters about shutting down some of this debt, all of your debt, whatever, you'll get some results. So that brings me to my other point. Saturday, I'm going to do a webinar. About 2-3 hours. Saturday, I'm going to do a webinar. It's pretty much going to be this seminar that I just did in webinar form. And I'm going to be talking about that Jubilee. Like I said, I created a Jubilee letter for getting rid of debt right there when I at the seminar. That's usually what happens. A lot of the stuff that I end up teaching, I created in the middle of the night, right the day before the seminar, or like if I do 2 days that night, after I do the first day, I'll get up and make something. I'll be driven to do something. So I didn't get any sleep hardly that second night. So by the time it was the end of the seminar, I was done. I was empty because I had been up half the night inspired. And I didn't get back. I think I laid back down around 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I got up and spoke again. So by the grace of the ancestors and the Spirit of God in me, I was able to make it through the second day. And then get home. So yes, if you want to see that new template that I created, be on that webinar Saturday. Go to akimel.com, akimel.net, click the links. It's there. Someone has already, I sent the email out yesterday. I finally got my email together where I can get more emails out. So I had to go to another email service. So I'll be blasting out another email between tonight and tomorrow to make sure I reach everyone. So y'all want to get rid of those debts, I would be on there. But we're going to be talking about trust today. I'm going to talk about the whole thing. I had let me see. Like when I did a webinar on trust on March 1st. And then when I did the seminar, I'd use those same PowerPoints, but I added probably, now it's up to 30-something slides, I believe. Maybe 40. That one, it was that webinar on steroids. Let's see. How many slides are there with this new? So it's going to be some added stuff. Talking about air property. And then we went over history. I talked about some history that shocked a lot of people. Like, what? How? Let me see. I'm trying to find. Let's see. It's crazy how the very webinar, is this it? Yeah, this is it. No, but this is it's 35 slides now. Yeah, 35. And we got to talking so much, I didn't get through all of the slides, but I did cover what was necessary to cover. So back to this Jubilee. Yeah, I would draft it. You don't need my stuff, but if you feel like you handle yourself, I would use scriptures like the Lord's Prayer, forgive our debt, things like that. According to Santa Ana, I'm not supposed to speak too much more on that because it ain't coming out. But if you want to hear it all, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think I have the. See if I could put the flyer up here. Let's see if I can add the flyer. Let's see. I should have did this before the show. I don't be thinking about stuff. Today was an interesting day. Okay. I'm hoping this is the right one. There it is. I got it all in front of my face. Let's shrink it. There it is. April 5th, go.keymail.com. It'll automatically register you. You'll get the link to the Zoom meeting for Saturday. I didn't even open up my Telegram today. So I'm still recovering from my ride. I didn't take a plane. I rode up there. It was like a 4 and 5 hour ride because of traffic. I just didn't feel like fooling with the planes and such a short ride. So let's see what the chat's talking about. All right, let's see. Let's give some shouts out to people. Oh, GJOJ, he was there. He said it was great. Thank you. Same thing. Dax, DJB Thunder, he's the one who hosted it. Thanks for the paying for my meals. I really appreciate that, brother. Peace, love, and prosperity, extreme wealth to everyone. Alex just got here. Oh, what's going on? We were talking about the year of Jubilee and debt forgiveness. Enlightened Deck says greetings. Corinne, above and beyond. With Corinne says happy Tuesday. That day is getting closer and closer where that new divine being will enter this realm. I'm looking forward to that. Peace Almighty, the observed position is powerful. Bolden says 100. Indy Circle say, yeah, he come. That dude, that old you can't go. Got to have me some. Yeah, go over there and get you some, brother. I say peace. I'm going backwards here. Jason G say peace. You still in Brazil, Jason? Indy Circle said peace, my brother. Say you missed it. Yes, yeah, it's recorded. So go back and look at the recording. DJ said he got ordained on Sunday. Yeah, congrats. Now you can perform weddings, help create your own birth certificates. You can do all that. Let me get this off my screen. My God, OG Big BK. Greetings. So I only got 9 likes with all y'all people in here. Oh, you still in Brazil? Are you ever coming back to the USA? You done with us over here? How is it in Brazil? It must be good. You've been there for a couple of years or more. Brian Kirk. Okay. How is it in Brazil? Got to be good. Yeah. So, Saturday's webinar, go to akimile.com, tune in, and remember, if you don't remember anything, you need to check yourself before you start blaming other people for your problems or your bad outcomes. It's always comes down to the individual. He says he can't get enough of the weather, beaches, and nature. I hear you. Listen, man, I'm very close to flying the coop myself. I got my daughters graduating, and I'm going to be making some serious decisions about my nationality. Okay? I ain't telling y'all where I'm thinking about right now, but yeah, I'm seriously out of here. And I can see y'all still going to get, I'm going to still do my show. I'm going to still do this. I'm going to still do my work for approximately 3 hours away by plane, 3 to 4 maybe. Somebody asked the question, DDM Ministries, can a trust protect you or the company in eminent domain situations? Someone's asked that question. I don't know, really. I don't know. I really don't see. That's something I would have to do some research. Eminent domain is when the government feel like your land is necessary to do what they want to do with it. So I could see how it might be present a challenge if the land was in a trust. One thing that'll protect the land from eminent domain, if that land gets deemed as a historical significance, or I have to do some research because I think there's some other things that can keep it from being taken by the government. But a trust is an individual. It could be sued just like anyone else. So if they want to sue you to take your land, I think it is possible. I don't see how eminent domain can be stopped because it's a trust. I don't see that just from thinking about the fact that a trust is an individual just like you are. It's just a different type. So, but that's something to look up. Yeah, I was thinking that graveyard, if it was deemed a graveyard, that possible, but then, the natives had graveyards and they just took everything. They built buildings over it. There's a church in New York, in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, they found a bunch of bodies under that church. Indigenous folks. So you're dealing with a very treacherous governmental entity that will do what it wants when it wants to. If it really wants something, it would do the dirtiest tricks to get it. So there is no surefire guarantees to stop anything when it comes to when they got their mind set on taking something from you. Just look at the history of this country. Now, you can put things in place to protect yourself from that as much as possible. And that's one of those things that sometimes we have so many attachments of letting things go, it slows us down or it hinders us from going to the next level. There's always some land to buy. There's always some property to purchase. And let's keep it real. Everything we have in this realm is temporary. Right? It can't go with you when you're not going to be here anymore. The house I own right now, 100 years from now, somebody else would be living in that house. A whole new set of family. Might not be my relatives, but somebody else is going to be living there who know nothing about me. So everything I have right now is for my temporary enjoyment while I'm here. What I lose today, I can gain tomorrow. Some of the things that you simply trying to get and obtain is being hindered from you because you won't let stuff go. Like I was listening to something and they said something about the clothes in your closet. People use about 20% of the clothes in their closet. The other 80% never gets used or barely. What are we holding on to? What I do know about when we let stuff go, we leave room for more to come in. When we let people go, we leave room for the right people to come in. If someone doesn't want to stay, let them go. If someone don't want to talk to you, don't talk to them. Sometimes it's better off talking to yourself. Why not? You have a better conversation. Whoa, that was strong. I've been sipping all out of that. That was the first hard hit. Let them go. Hold on, let me see something. What's going on? Let them go. Let it go. If there's something that's trying to leave and it's causing you great difficulty to hold on to it, it might be time to let go. And sometimes when you let go, it comes right back in a better way, in a new form. But before I go tonight, I gotta say this, and I said it earlier. All of who you are right now, all of the actions you've taken in the past to this point has gotten you all of the results you have right now. If you're satisfied with the results, keep doing it. If you're not, then that means you got to change something. We should be upgrading. That's what keeps life interesting and exciting. So you don't become bored. Right? What makes my life interesting that I find new information to study and sometimes I know I read so much, have so much that I'm like, man, I'm just bored. And that's because I haven't found anything new to interest me. But then I'm realizing if I go back to the old stuff I was teaching, it's exciting again. Because why? There's people that I come across that need that old information that I used to teach. So really, I'm like going back to the beginning again with enhanced knowledge. How I taught it 10 years ago, I'm teaching it different now. Yeah, because we also talked about in that seminar about what needs to be in the trust for it to be foreign. It ain't a 9-8 number, I can tell you that, because that rule was very specific about what it needs to have. Not a 9-8 number. All right, this is 8:05. Right now I'm just rambling. And I ain't got much more to say. To keep it real. Hang on, I'm gonna take this last sip and maybe there's some last thing I got. I don't know. Take a little pause. Nope. Nothing. That's hindsight, brother. LOL. Yeah. Man, life is always good. Life is always giving you opportunities to see new things about yourself. Discover. There's so much. Listen, we are infinite beings. And if you just pay attention to yourself, you'll find some amazing things about yourself. The problem is we too busy paying attention to everybody else and everything else. And that's how the system was designed, to keep you off of looking at yourself. Because if you know who you really are, what you really are, and what you have the power to do, you wouldn't need a God in the sky. The one they created for you. See, the question is, did God create man or man create God? And in this system, man has created God. Because I said this, and I've been saying this over the last few weeks, a couple of weeks. We all get here by one process. I know they doing in vitro and all this other stuff, and they bring children in the world. I ain't talking about that artificial stuff. See, y'all think artificial intelligence is just some computer stuff. When they do that in vitro stuff, that's artificial births. Therefore, and they are, and the science is starting to support it, any child coming in here by way of artificial means is not going to have the same power as the ones that come here through that divine portal called the womb of the female. Okay? That is a master design on how we're supposed to get here. How we get here. And if you skip that part, you're going to miss a lot. Because that woman is passing on something to you as you come through the portal. Oh, there's still a little bit left. Okay, I thought it was over, and it's not. I will say this, brothers and sisters, but mainly brothers. There's something we should never do. Even if we see ratchet behavior from our women, there's something we should never do. You should never degrade, disrespect, the feminine aspect of our existence. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. YouTube personalities have created and profited off of shows that go in on women, specifically black women or women of color. Although some of the points that they're making is true, that there are ratchet behavior amongst black women. But there's ratchet behavior amongst black men as well. Right? You remember that guy, Kevin Samuels? He used to have that show, and I watched it. And I agree with some of the points he was making, but there was one thing I had an issue with about his show. There was one part of it I had an issue. He targeted certain types of women to be on there. He picked certain type of women he knew would display certain behaviors that people can make fun of and point out the negative aspects of how they were behaving or they are behaving. Right? Let me explain something to you. And brothers, y'all need to listen very carefully. I don't care how ratchet that sister is or whatever. Never disrespect that feminine side. First of all, judging someone is not cool, right? Because you yourself be judged. We got issues ourselves, right? And of course, there's some people that say, well, women are acting this way because men is not stepping up to the plate. And that's not altogether true. If we're talking about balance, I believe it's a 50-50. There's an imbalance here. And because we're not in balance is the reason why we're having these issues. That's why one side leans one way or the other. But here's the thing I'm trying to make. Don't disrespect, because there's a price to pay. Y'all think that brother had a heart attack out of the blue for no reason? That was a spiritual message. That's the way I took it. He was like one of the hottest YouTube shows. And then all of a sudden, this man dies of a heart attack. So they say. And he had monetized, made a lot of money, or for disrespecting, or I wouldn't even say he was disrespecting. What I was saying is he was showing the worst parts of black women. And that's not all to us, right? That's just like, that's on the equivalent of how the news do us, right? They show only black people committing crimes. They highlight all, that's like supporting white supremacist ideals when we do that. And I believe he paid a spiritual price for doing that. There's a powerful divine or feminine out there that's watching everything. Think about it. If you think about when you was a child, who was that one being that sheltered you and nurtured you? Yeah, you had a dad. Your dad was your protector and disciplinary part of the arm, like the protection. And made sure you didn't get into any danger. But your mother was the nurturer. She was the one your mother is the one that's gonna, she's gonna be there 100% most times. You see serial killers or these guys that committing, the mom is always right there in their corner no matter what. Right? I know when I got in trouble, when I was out there being a hardhead, and the police, I was underage and they was calling my house and my father picked up the phone. He left me right there in jail. But if my mother picked up the phone, I know she would show up. But I'm glad my father picked up the phone because that woke me up. Like, hey, ain't nobody coming. I'm not saying my father abandoned me and did wrong. He did right. I was taught the right way. I was still doing screwed up stuff. So in order to teach me a lesson, I'm not coming to get you out of there. You figure it out. You want to swim in the deep waters? Learn how to swim, brother. You'll figure it out. And that woke me up that, hey, I'm on this, but my mother didn't get the phone. When I had my one phone call, my dad did. He's like, why you calling me? I love my father. Don't get me wrong. My father's a great man. He raised 6 kids and never disappeared. He always brought his check right to the house we was living in and still doing it to this day. Okay? He wasn't a big conversationalist. He wasn't like we had deep conversations, but he did his deepness by showing up and making sure we had food on the table. But here's the thing. It's actually the Bible even talks about honoring your mother and your father. And they made specific commands about the woman and the man, how you're supposed to treat them. What is that? Don't cause shame to your mother or something like that. I don't know the scriptures right offhand. Maybe that'll be another lesson. I'm not going to sit here and take myself off the energy of what I'm saying, try to find it. Like I said, I believe that dude passing was a spiritual message. We can't be disrespecting the very source of our existence and think we're going to live well. No matter what. See, it's not my concern how bad someone is acting and to judge them for being this or that. They'll figure it out. They'll work the path, and they'll figure it out someday that they should have made some different decisions. My job is to show up if they ever ask for my assistance to be there in a supportive role. And that's the issue. We see things going wrong and we cast people to the side. So just imagine if someone cast me to the side when I was out there 15 years old, running the streets, selling drugs. I came from a good home, a very religious home. I didn't grow up learning all of that. I went out there and learned that on my own from my association with my cousin who introduced me to that life. And even tried to set me up so I could take a lot of time. My own cousin. And just a little side note, while he was trying to set me up, the spirits and the ancestors that was protecting me so I could be here to do this work, put him in a position where he was doing a lot of time. He did over 20 years. He just got out of jail maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But he was trying to set me up. That's my own family, my own cousin. Try to set me up. That's why I'm thankful for my life, because I know as long as I walk into the purpose of why I'm here, I'm always going to be protected. When I walk outside of that, problems. And also, I know anyone connected to me that I have connected to is protected too, and things are going to work out for them as well. See, it's just not for me. This protection that I have emanates out to the same people that I have connections with, that are working with the energy that I'm working with. But let me go back to what I'm talking about. We can't be doing that, bro. Be careful. Yeah, you might be having a hard time with your woman right now, but be careful. That's a very powerful energy that you're going up against. And I haven't seen any man really win against that. Really. So I know you have to understand what you're dealing with and the power. Y'all see, if you want to get a hint of what I'm saying, go watch that first movie, animated movie called Moana. That is the key to what I'm talking about. When they took that jewel, and this, because it started off this entity or creature was just raging through, causing desolation everywhere. Because what happened? They took something from her. And when she got it back, she realized, she came to her senses and realized who she was. And then the earth started to flourish again. That is a very powerful animated movie. And that's what's happening now. They took something from. And this is why the rage and the ratchet, all of that stuff is happening. Amnesia, don't know who they really are. You see? But once they get that jewel back, and the jewel is the simple knowledge of who they truly are. That's it. That's the jewel. Then, the jewel was a reminder of the power of the life-giving force that is in the woman. Yes, men, we do give life too in a different way. But we're not the ones holding on and making sure that child is gonna stay living is all on the woman. What she eats, what she thinks, how she's being treated, all has everything to do with how every being gets here. So let's not join in this culture of disrespecting, because I'm gonna tell you things will not go well if you join in that. And all these guys that's making their profits or that, you'll see. They're gonna get shut down. Because you can only do that for so long. That's why I never dedicated my channels to anything like that. All right. Anna says, I said enough. It's time to go. Appreciate y'all hearing me, listening to me. And with that being said, peace, prosperity, extreme wealth to everyone. And you guys have an excellent rest of your evening. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth. You have to go through something to accomplish something. Say it again. You have to go through something to accomplish something. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not willing to go through something to accomplish something. It's too hard. That's too much. I hear people say it all the time. Man, that stuff you do, I couldn't do that. Working that hard and making all those phone calls, get those loads. I can't do it. That's too much. Basically what they're saying, it's easier for them to go work for somebody and be told what to do. That's what's easy. I think they just be talking when they say that. They don't really understand what they're saying. It's like Christ said when they had him up there, crucify him, and he said, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. And I'll say to that, forgive them, Father. They know not what they say. They don't know the consequences of their very words. They don't know. It's that simple. Do you realize that you're receiving your reward of every word that you utter out of your mouth? There's a saying in the church, power of life and death is in the tongue. And that is very true. The power of life and death is in your tongue. The power of success and failure is in your tongue, in the words you utter. Not just the words you utter, the words you think. Because the thinking of the words come before you actually speak it. You have to double down on it, meaning you have to contract with the word before you speak it, right? You think about it, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and you speak it. You think about it, then you decide to speak it. You create a contract with your consciousness. Oh, I accept what this is as the truth, and I'm going to speak it now so that I can solidify it and see that it comes forth.